Did you know that 10% of the current Senate is named John? It's true. 10 out of 100 members of the uber exclusive Senate have the same name, which calls to mind the late night TV landscape where you'll find twice as many Jimmys as you'll find women. And although the number of Jimmys may change, the number of women seems to always stay the same. Might not always be the same woman, but there's almost always just one of her. Now, this is personal for me because for a time, I was that solo woman on late night TV, which is why today I have some serious choice words for whoever decided at some point that there could only be just one at a time. 10 Johns is exactly the right amount to have in the Senate, but only one female will do the trick on late night TV. Why? Do you think we all live together and only one of us can leave the coven at night while the others stay home and bake tomorrow's bread? Or maybe these people, men, I'm pretty certain, think that if you hear from one woman, you have heard from all of them. Surely we must all be saying the same thing, so just choose one, put her on TV, let her do the lady-splaining for a few years till we sub her out with a different one. Maybe we'll let the next one have curly hair. I don't know. But here's the thing. Women, I don't know if you know this, we contain multitudes. We've been trying to tell you that for literally ever. So we actually, this is so funny, we actually all have different opinions and we say different things. We have different interests. And oh my God, we even have different expertise. You could benefit from having more than one woman on TV at once, just like you benefit from having more than one Law and Order at once. This is Choice Words. I'm Samantha Bee. My guest today is currently the lone lady of late night, and I love watching her rise. You know Taylor Tomlinson from her current show After Midnight and Netflix specials, Have It All, Look at You, and Quarter Life Crisis. I absolutely loved talking to her about what it's like just starting out in late night, why it's so frustrating that seemingly there can be only one woman in the genre at a time. She's great. So take a listen and make good choices. I'm so excited to be talking to you right now.
Me too. It's so nice to meet you.
It is so nice to meet you. I feel like, I'm going to say it, I feel like everyone in my household really knows you. We don't
Really?
know you, but we know you. We do. My kids have watched your special. My husband is a really big fan. We're all just really, the B. Jones family is a family of fans.
Oh my God. That's so nice.
I think they'll be jealous that I'm getting to talk to you. You're not on tour right now. Your tour is finished, or are you on the road-ish?
Well, oh no, I'm on the road. I'm
Okay.
not on the road currently at this moment, but I
Okay.
go to Vegas tomorrow. I have shows in Vegas tomorrow. After Midnight started in January, and I wasn't touring the first couple months of that.
Okay.
And in the last month or so, I'm back on the road pretty much most weekends.
When you are facing travel like that, are you like, I'm ready? Or are you like, oh my God, here's I gotta get my packing cubes. Where did I fucking put them? Oh no.
Man, I was so good about packing cubes for a month. Do you use packing cubes?
You know what? I love them so much. And then I always lose them because I have so many different suitcases for all different purposes that I'm like,
all different sizes.
All different sizes. And in some ways, I do think they're great. I think they really help. They really help.
I think they do too. And I have also lost all of mine.
They're elusive. Those little bastards. They're like a single sock.
They really make you feel like you have your shit together, though.
Well, what's better than opening your suitcase and it's just a game of, it's just Tetris.
You're just like, look at this mind that put this together, fit this puzzle together. I've got it all.
I know if I were truly organized, I would like label them probably.
Oh,
And that would be next level. My
yeah.
favorite thing to do is instead of improving myself in my life, I just like watch other women on TikTok doing
Sure.
days in the life where
100%.
yeah, right?
And folding and like
folding.
making everything look in a drawer just so beautiful that you can pluck it out. I think that's a high achieving mind.
Yeah. But when I watch enough of them, I feel like I did it.
You did, because you basically did. I mean,
basically
essentially, you were on that journey with them, right? It was your idea.
It was my idea, and I'm going to do it. And now we have a plan, and now we know how to do it.
Okay, I want to thank you so much for being here. Okay, so we know this show is called Choice Words. It's all about the choices, the big choices that we make, the little choices that we make. And I want to talk about some of the big ones that you made, but it means something different to everybody. Are you good at making choices? Are you good at making decisions? Are you like, I need packing cubes. I need it to be very clear. Or are you amazing at it?
You know, I've been thinking about this a lot because I've been listening to your podcast. And because I was like, I got to be prepared here. And
Okay.
I'm so glad that I did because I feel it helped a lot. And it's fascinating and so good. So I feel like when I was younger, I was weirdly better at making decisions because I thought I wasn't going to change my mind about anything. Like I thought I knew who I was. And then as you get older, I think you realize who you are is like constantly changing and evolving and growing. So now I think I'm actually less confident. That's not true. I'm not less confident. I'm less confident in making hasty decisions. I take much more time to consider all the options. I make more thoughtful choices now.
Well, do you think it's because the stakes are a little high? I mean, the stakes are higher.
Oh yeah, stakes are way higher. I'm closer to death. I got less time now.
We're all just inching closer to death.
Just inching every day. Try not to think about it.
Gotta get it right before the end. But like your career is bigger now, so now you have to actually weigh things differently. Do you feel that?
Yes, I definitely think since I have become someone who now has a team of people working for me and having more people not entirely relying on just me for their income, but certainly some people are, on my payroll and I pay their salary. That's like a different level of responsibility that I just didn't have when I was younger. It was really just me, myself, and I. So that's certainly changed things. And yeah, also, I think the more successful you get, I'm curious if you feel this way, the more successful you get, it's further to fall, right?
Right. Yes, it is. More people, kind of more eyeballs, more people just kind of tuned into your trajectory a little bit with either good intentions or nefarious intentions.
Yes.
Just more of everything. Just more of everything. I think one of the most sort of like awkward or difficult transitions that a performer can make is kind of like that moment where your career shifts to becoming very known. So you go from like making your own choices and kind of like doing your own thing and into when you're projected on a much larger stage, it's hard to kind of get used to. Did you feel that in your own life where you had to go, wait a second, oh, it's a little different?
Yeah, I think I'm still getting used to it, honestly, because, my first Netflix special came out a week before COVID lockdown. So a lot of people were discovering me while we were all trapped inside. So the only way I knew that my life was changing in any way is that my Instagram followers were going up. But that's not always a guarantee that people are going to pay money to come out and see you live. So it took months and months for me to get back in front of live audiences and realize that my career was very different. So that was certainly an interesting start. And then, with doing After Midnight, I think because when I agreed to do it, I just thought it sounded fun and I wanted to work with all the people involved. When it was announced and it was like so many headlines about it, I was sort of taken aback. And I'm probably just very stupid that I didn't see that coming. But that felt very overwhelming to sort of like hear from everyone I knew. And even, in the last 6 months, being in LA, I think it's kind of hard to know, especially when you're mostly just on set or at home or with friends, like going back on the road and having people recognize me out and about is certainly different and an adjustment. I don't know. How did you adjust? Because I would love some direction.
Well, I was going to ask you, like, do you have someone in your life? Do you have people in your life? You have a good team around you. I know that you do. I know a lot of people mutually who I've worked with and I love dearly. But do you have like a trusted person who's kind of been on your side of things, kind of just going like, it's okay. Like it's going to bubble up. It's going to bubble down. It's really going to be okay. Here's what to do. Here's what not to do. Just sit tight. Do you have like that person in your life or a variety? Or do you have people around you who you can take like a little piece from?
I think people have been really nice to me and very generous with their time and advice. I don't really have anybody that I'm super close to that has maybe experienced that. But, I've talked to like Ali Wong and Amy Schumer, and they've been very, encouraging and sweet. But even that, you're like, well, you're on a different level than I am. Like, that's like, it's
Taylor. I don't know that that's true.
I think it is. I was like, this is like silly. Like, I'm like, this is like God giving Tony Robbins advice. Like, I'm like not where you're at. Like, it's going well, but it's not like Mount Rushmore of comedy going well. Like,
I don't know. I don't want to put this in your head, but I think that everybody in the world watched your special. Maybe like every single person on lockdown, everyone was like, well, I'm going to watch this now. And it's lucky for me that I really love it.
It definitely helped. It definitely helped that everybody was locked inside and was like, I'll watch anything. We will watch anything right now. What is new? Fine, we'll give it a shot.
Can you think of, and by the way, sidebar, I offer myself, I'm going to give you my email after. If you have, and you know what's so funny? Because we're not in the same space, but kind of in the same space. You're in that world now. I was in that world. We're from a similar worlds.
Oh yeah, well that's why
cool.
It's so wild to finally meet you, because I just feel like the press I've been doing for the last 6 months is so much. And I listened to your episode with Chelsea, and I loved that you guys talked about the whole like a woman in late night thing and how that was so bizarre, and how you were like, that's not how I'm thinking about myself. And so I feel like I've just been referencing you so much in the last 6 months, where like every time someone's like, you're the only woman in late night currently, and I'm like, yeah, but there's been women in late night, like Lily Singh, Amber Ruffin, Samantha Bee, Chelsea, like there's a lot, like we're good. Or you're usually one of the first names people bring up if that subject comes up, where they're like, we know Samantha Bee and Chelsea were really successful and had long running shows, but right now it's just you.
Taylor, there can only be one at a time. The world cannot have except two at the same time, and you're the one now, and so we can only talk to you about that. And
it's so different. I sort of feel like I was like cast on a show. Like I came into a project that was a reimagining of another show that had been on Comedy Central and was now being put on a different network, and with some of the same people and with some new people, and was being formatted in a different way. But they were looking for a host for something that was already developed. And, you guys were in a situation where a show was being created around you, and you were like more involved in like the DNA of that show.
And we invented the medium. And we invented it. We invented it. And so let's just own it. I do feel like you have really made it your own, though. And I'm going to give you tons of compliments about it, because I do feel like it has your I feel you at the center of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to tell you that I don't, as a viewer, feel like, oh, it's just a show you're in. I feel like
Okay.
it is your show. I really do feel that way. So this is, anyways, that's all I'm
That's
saying.
very nice.
That's all I'm saying. Okay, so when you look back at your career so far, which like you have such a long road of beautiful experiences and a wild goddamn roller coaster of the entertainment industry, it's all like ahead. But when you look back, can you think of a choice that you've made that really impacted you, that maybe impacted you in an unexpected way? Or you dove into something that you were like, I don't know.
I mean, can I use, not to just keep harping on After Midnight, but can I use After Midnight?
Of course you can. You can use anything. This is yours. It was a big choice, right?
Oh my gosh, probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest
Mhm.
choice in my career. I think the two biggest choices I've made were submitting for an hour special on Netflix, which I can't even take full credit for. My manager, Judy, was the one who was like, we should go for this. I was like, let's just ask him for half an hour. Let's not push it. And then, After Midnight was, I mean, I thought about whether or not to take this job for months, like even before they offered it to me, when I was just interviewing for it and, doing like a screen test and all that. Like, I really was not sure if I should do it or not for a long time, because it doesn't prevent me from doing stand-up, but it does prevent me from doing as much stand-up as I was doing, because I was on the road constantly. I mean,
Right.
nonstop. There were some weeks where I was home like Monday to do laundry, and then I would fly out again on Tuesday and do shows Wednesday through Sunday, or
Right.
Wednesday through Saturday. So I can't do that anymore. I'm down to like, Friday, Saturday, and I don't make my own schedule anymore. Like, I'm kind of waiting for CBS to tell us when we're going to shoot. And that's been an adjustment coming from stand-up, which was kind of all up to me. So it was a lot to consider before I accepted the job, because I didn't know if I was going to be good at it. I didn't know if I was going to like it. I really, truly, just every step of the way through the interview process, everyone I met with, I just really liked, and I just really wanted to work with them. And I loved touring, and I had sort of my little road family of like my tour manager and my best friend who opens for me. And so I felt very supported and social on the weekends. And then I would come back to LA and kind of feel like, why do I even live here? Like, it's so far. Like, maybe I should move to the middle of the country where it's easier to travel.
Right. I should move to a flight hub.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
I should move to Cedar Rapids.
Yes, my friend Kelsey moved to Minneapolis, and I'm like, that was so smart. Like,
that's hardcore.
It's so good for the road. And even like, being in New York and coming from New York, it's just easier because you're gaining time. So I was really like struggling with whether or not to even stay in LA before this job. And I thought, well, if I take this job, I'm going to get to be a part of a team.
Right.
And I think that'll be probably better for me in the long run as far as like my development as a person.
Right.
I really took it to sort of grow in different ways and sort of diversify my ego. Like, COVID really showed a lot of us that, I think, that, if your whole identity was your job and you couldn't do your job anymore, like we couldn't as live touring performers, I sort of had not even a moment of panic, months of panic, where I was like, oh, who am I if I can't do stand-up? I don't know if I have anything else. So I really I wanted the social aspect. I wanted the team aspect. I wanted to make something with a group of people every day. And I wanted to develop other skills besides just stand-up.
Right. So you do all of this background work. You're like meeting with them. It's very casual. It's very casual until it's not casual. And they go, actually, we want you for the job. You're the one. Were you like, oh shit, I was just kidding. That was a joke. I didn't even want it.
Well, luckily by that point I had decided I wanted it.
Okay, good.
But I did the screen test the week before, like maybe 5 days before.
Okay.
So up until the screen test was kind of the last thing I needed to see, because it was essentially doing what would have been as close to a show as we could feel like it was like a little mini fake show.
Yeah.
And I did it, and I had a lot of fun, and I liked it, and thought, oh man, now I think I want it. And 5 days later I had it, and as soon as they gave it to me, it was like off to the races. I mean, it was, 2 days later it was announced and everywhere, and it was like, you can't tell anybody you got it. We have to announce it on Colbert. Like, don't tell anybody for the next 2 days.
Okay.
So yeah, it wasn't really like, you got the job, think about it if you want it. It was kind of like I had thought about it for months already, and I talked to everybody in my life about it and gone back and forth a million times before I finally settled on it. And even when I started doing the show, it was really overwhelming. I mean, it was a lot of press up front about the show that I hadn't even done yet. So I was sort of going like, I don't know yet. I'm not sure what it's going to feel like. And then when the show started, it was obviously a learning curve, and I was really sick at the time, and I was sort of like struggling with the fact that I was having health issues, and also I wasn't doing stand-up because I was focusing on the show, and it was really hard. It's been really hard, but it's also been so worth it, and it's been everything I wanted it to be. And
That's great.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Do you feel like you have established then like a cadence for yourself that makes sense? Like your body is like a little, this is so, it's really weird that I'm saying these. Is your body center? Like, no, but I mean, it takes a little, you're scrambling. I feel like for the first little while, and at least for me, I was just like clawing at the dirt, just like trying to breathe. You just can't even really experience it until you can take a breath.
Yes.
Have you taken a breath?
I think I've taken a breath.
Okay.
It's crazy because you feel like you've gotten the hang of it, and then something changes, or you get notes from the network, or your schedule changes, and then you're kind of like, whoa, okay, all right, well, okay, we'll get our footing again. Like, there's been multiple times that I felt like, awesome, cruise control, we got it, and then something changes, and you go, okay, let's readjust. I feel like I've learned a lot. I think I'm still learning how to do it. I mean, everyone I've talked to in all of the podcasts I've listened to and interviews I've watched, people with some sort of late night show have said just what you said, which is like, it took a while to adjust. I mean, how long do you feel like it took you before you were like, I got it, I know the mode I get into, I can switch into it pretty quickly?
I think that it took a while. I think it took 2 years to get like very comfortable, like to be very like, okay, like to know every ingredient in the process. But it took less time than that to get a kind of a rhythm to it. Like, here's my pre-show snack. Or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, here's what I know sets me up for success in this, and here's how I like to come down from this experience. And here's, like, I know that I shouldn't do 2 interviews in one day that are big. Like, that was a mistake. My mind exploded. Like, it takes some time to kind of like feel that out for yourself. So it's, and you really have to, I think. But I will say that, like, I don't know that you ever can get so comfortable, because it's a weird public job. And I think maybe when people get too comfortable in these positions, then quality deteriorates. So I actually think it's good to be on your toes a little, or on the front of your feet, to be like, I don't know, maybe we'll see.
It's a devastating realization that anxiety is actually really helpful.
It's so helpful.
Yeah. When it comes to being productive and high achieving, you're like, anxiety's actually served me pretty well.
Me too. It just feels like shit, but it's a great, adrenaline is so effective and causes your spine to disintegrate over time.
But look at my IMDb page.
You know what is so funny? People have described your comedy as being for everyone. That's crazy
Really?
to me. Yes, because you're so you have like a universal ability, your ability to, like, I mean, I'm saying with my family, and we're all different ages and sexes, and, but we can all we're all getting something from what it is that you're delivering.
Oh,
I think
so
that's
nice.
it's pretty unusual quality.
That's really nice. I mean, look, it's all very subjective, so I'm sure there's plenty of people who are like, not for me, and I'm everyone. But I think if there's any degree of that, it probably just comes from starting so young and
Right.
being a high schooler trying to perform for adults and going, okay, how do I
Right.
make what I'm talking about something that they are interested in and will laugh at and isn't just like watching a child do
Right.
a performance for their parents after Thanksgiving dinner, you know? So I would assume that's maybe where it comes from is I am a very like personal, more confessional comedian, I guess. I'm not really
Right.
observational, but hopefully it feels more observational because I
Hmm.
start with what I'm going through and
Right.
then I think, okay, how are other people going to relate to this? Like what's their entry point?
Because it is so personal. Do you ever want to dial back the personal nature of it, or are you just so comfortable there?
No, I think I've dialed back the personal nature of it a
Hmm.
lot in the last 2 years. I mean, there
Yep.
are jokes that I'm really proud of that I really like that I just don't feel comfortable doing that I did on tour for a while and then
Okay.
came out and didn't make it into the special. And, I could do an entire special about certain things in my life that
Hmm.
it's just not the time to talk about them. And there are lots of subjects that I plan to get into and would love to get into, but it's just not the moment. Like I talked
Hmm.
about losing my mom at a young age in my second special, and some of those were jokes I had written at, 20, 21, and I
Hmm.
just didn't have the maturity as a performer to pull those off up until that point.
Right.
So I think there's something to knowing when subjects are ripe, I guess,
Right.
when
Yeah.
you're in the right place to deliver that stuff as well. Because I think part of it is like making the audience comfortable with what you're talking about. And you can't really fake that you're in a good place with something. Like I think
Hmm.
I needed to go to a lot of therapy to get to a place where I could convince thousands of people that like, oh, she's okay. Like it's all right.
Right. Right. Right. Like, are you sometimes trying out new material and you're like, oh, you hit almost like a speed bump in your act where you're like, every time we get here, I'm not enjoying this joke.
Maybe not that I'm not enjoying it, but there's maybe been moments of, oof, I feel like I gotta really hit this mark so delicately. Like
Okay.
my second special had a lot of that material in it, where I was
Hmm.
like, I really gotta like focus and land this like a gymnastics routine. And by
Right.
the end of that tour, I was really tired, and I just wanted to do like a more fun, light hour. And so I think my special that just came out, Have It All, is much lighter
Right.
and sillier and more fun, and much broader. And then I think the new hour that I'm working on now is sort of going back to being more personal and
Okay.
a little touchier. But I feel like I have recharged and am in a place to do that again. But
Great.
there's certain things, yeah, that you're like, oh, I'm worried about sharing that, so maybe it's not the time to share that yet.
Right. Right.
Like it'll still be there.
How can you're like, I'm going to go out tonight. How am I going to land this jumbo jet on this dandelion?
Yes.
Should I do it? Should-
Yes. Or if you feel like audiences are just getting uncomfortable, if they're
Mhm.
more uncomfortable than they are laughing and enjoying it, then you're not doing your job as an entertainer.
Mhm.
If not,
Right.
if you want to be a heavily touring comedian anyway. Not
Right.
everybody does. Like if you want to perform for your people in LA and New York, like that's totally fine and like valid and totally
Right.
possible impossible to do. But if you want to be somebody who can like go to
Anywhere.
Alabama and then
Right.
you gotta be somebody who can make it palatable for most people.
Do you have favorite? I guess you can't say if you have favorite destinations. So are there towns where you're like, I just love doing stand up here? Like, are you like, when I get to Chicago, I feel alive?
I do love Chicago. Chicago is, I mean, they have notoriously great crowds, such a good comedy city. I love Des Moines. Des Moines is great. I just did Madison. Madison's wonderful. I love DC. That's where I'm at next. I think DC's incredible.
Yeah.
Denver, New York. Like there's really so many.
Oh yeah, Denver. Denver's great for comedy. Great audiences. You filmed your last special in DC, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was a great crowd.
They were great.
And your jacket was awesome.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I was afraid it was too confident for me.
No.
I didn't wear it. And sometimes I'm like, maybe it was too confident. It's a little like, that was my like, I made it jacket. And it's a little like that whole special. I was trying to sort of toe the line of like, I'm so grateful that I made it. And it's really cool that I have the career I always wanted, but not sound like I was like bragging or like but you want to be self-aware about it. You can't go up and be like, man, life's still really hard. Like, no, things are going pretty good. Like, I'm going to talk about the areas of my life that maybe aren't going as well, but also let's acknowledge how well this part is going and be grateful for it and acknowledge the crowds that are there to see you that made it happen.
Right. I put together a look. Everything is coordinated up here. Everything is intentional.
Yes. I do wish I'd hired a stylist for it, just because now that I have a stylist with the show and everything, oh my God, it's so nice. I'm terrible at fashion. If I find something that works, I will wear that. I wore the same outfit on tour, my last tour, just every night. I just bought like 3 of them and just cycled them through.
That's so smart, though. That's good for packing.
It's great for packing.
Good for packing. That's the secret.
Yep.
Just the same outfit every single night. Physically. That's like Jackie Onassis. Yes. You know, she would just find it, buy it 3 different ways, different colorways, and you just mix and match. These are the tricks.
Also, like, you know, people who come out to see you live, they want you to look like how they think you look.
That is very true. They don't want to see you dressed in a way that they don't recognize you. Then they kind of don't recognize you.
Yeah, they're like, that's not my comfort watch.
Yeah, you're like, why are you in puffy sleeves?
Yeah.
What is going on? What happened?
We feel betrayed.
We have been betrayed. They would never say that of the Jimmies. There's so many Jimmies, but they never wear puffy sleeves. They never change it up.
When I came into the show, first off, I'm so stupid. I bought my own suits. I was like, I probably need to buy my own suits. And they're like, you're adorable. We're going to hire a professional.
The cutest. That's the cutest thing I've ever heard.
I was like, I have some. And they're like, you're so cute, in the garbage. And then
I went to J. Crew and I got a bunch.
I did. I got them. Yeah. And then I also was like, what if we just got like the same suit in 6 colors and then I just wore them on a loop? Like, who really cares? And they're like, that's never going to happen.
Isn't that so funny? It actually is. I know that I'm going to paraphrase, and this is so... I hope that she really said this, and I think that she did. But, you know, I mean, Amy Poehler, obviously. I read an interview with her once, and this was so long ago. It was like her and Tina Fey, and they were like, what's the thing that is so unexpected about being a performer that you really hate? And they were like, grooming. The fucking grooming is unreal, and it is endless for a woman, and it really is bothersome. Do you feel that?
You know, I thought I was really going to hate getting hair and makeup every day. Like, I remember in December when I was doing all this press, I was like, I'm tired of being made up and perceived. And they were like, you know, you just agreed to a nightly show, right? Like, you know, that's what you signed up for. And I'm like, oh, that's right. But now, because I have the same people, you know, fixing my hair and face every day, like, now I'm like, oh, the most relaxing part of my day is just hanging out with Deb and Havana. Like,
Right.
this is
These
lovely.
nice people, these lovely people. There
Yeah.
is an incredible amount of like styling and all of that stuff. And the men really don't do it. It is different. It is very like the perception is completely different. And I bet there are days where those guys go in and they're like, do you want just a little powder today? And they're like, no, thanks. I'm
Yep.
already dressed. And then they
Yep.
hit the stage and everyone's like, amazing.
Yeah, it's so much more prep time and it's so much more to
Yeah.
think about. And even just like if there's an outfit I'm not sure about, I'll wear it to rehearsal so we can check it on camera. And
Yeah.
which is why I was like, let's just find one that works and just wear that.
Just
And
wear the hell out of it.
I mean, how were you with being on camera? I mean, obviously you've been on camera for years and years, so maybe I don't know that you would even feel like you necessarily ever felt strange about it, but and it's one of the reasons why I took the job is I was like, I want to kind of get over myself. And this feels
Right.
like exposure therapy
Mm-hmm.
where you're like, look, if you don't think you look great on TV tonight, too bad. You're on tomorrow. You got another shot at it tomorrow. Or like maybe this week you weren't feeling it, but it can get sort of overwhelming sometimes where you're like, oh my gosh, I have to be on television tonight.
I think that the way that you just phrased it is great because it is like exposure therapy. Like I think it just over time, you personally, I don't know if this is going to resonate with you, but I feel like I just personally developed a relationship with a camera lens that is just like, okay, we're together. So there is a part of like who I am because there's been so many years of it that when a camera lens is fixed to me, my body snaps into it. It's like a memory in the bones. There's just a muscle memory that just kicks in where you're like, I know how to stand. I know how to face this hole in a machine and treat it like it's a person. It's just a person in my life. It's just another relationship in my life. So, but that developed over time. It is bizarre to relate to a little machine hole.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. And you're not really, but you kind of are because you're learning what your space looks like and you're kind of like learning what your own dimensions are in ways that other people don't really have to think about. You're like, here's something that it's like we're not even doing a podcast now. It's just like we're just like having
I
love
agreed to do
this.
this so I could just meet you and talk to you and
I
ask
love
you for
this.
advice.
I love this. I once had a teacher so long ago, like 150 years ago, who was like, what's your back doing? Where's your back? And it meant so much to me. And I think about it every time I'm on camera now. I'm like, where is my back?
Wow.
Where's my back? Because it helps me mentally to feel like a three-dimensional person.
Yeah.
In front of an audience, in front of a camera, wherever I am, I go, feel your back. I'm like, okay, I'm real.
Yeah.
I'm whole.
Yeah.
There's a front, there's a back. We're a being. I don't know if grounded. It's just like, it's like a breath where you just go, okay, we're doing a job.
Yes.
We're doing a job. Today we do a job. Then we go home and we have an English muffin with avocado on it. And it's so comforting.
I love that. Yeah. I definitely relate to the snapping into it.
Mm-hmm.
And it does help that there's a live audience there because then it does sort of feel like a performance and just like stand up. You're like, that's fine. And I've been on camera enough over the years that I'm like, it's fine. We got it. And you're just yourself, which is helpful. But I remember when we started the show, I was so scared to watch it at all. And so I was kind of just like watching bits and pieces, and I still kind of watch bits and pieces. And I noticed that I was like putting my chin way up.
Oh.
Because I think I was scared of like not having a jawline or something. Like I just have a very round face. So I was sort of like self-conscious about it. So I thought I was helping myself by like putting my chin way up, and it looks crazy. I'm still actively working on kind of like put your chin down. You look normal. And even like my head kind of bobbing around, I had to like go look at other people doing monologues and stuff because I'm like, is everybody's head kind of doing that? And I'm like, okay, so some people's heads are doing that. Like even just those types of things, because I'm reading a teleprompter, so I'm not thinking about how I look as much or like what my movements are, because stand up, it's so, by the time you film a special, it's so deep in your bones that you could go on autopilot and just float above your body and watch your own show.
Right.
But this is like so different every night. And I'm sort of trying to remember from rehearsal and from read through, like what the beats of this was, but I've only said it 3 times.
Right.
So it's completely different. And so to have just a few things in my head to remember, like, okay, keep your chin down. Don't swivel your head like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Don't lean on the podium too much. Like I was also like doing a thing where my shoulders were like up by my ears, like stuff you wouldn't know unless you watched it, but then watching yourself is a nightmare and you just have to get over it. Like I've learned that the first time I watch myself, I'm going to be like, that looks horrendous.
Mm-hmm.
And the next day I'll be like, you look fine.
Yeah, it's totally fine. Yeah, it's like, again, that's like exposure therapy too. Just like being forced to watch yourself is a torture. It is a torture. And you are so judgmental about yourself. And we used to sit, early days when I worked at The Daily Show, we would sit in the edit bay the whole time that our stuff was getting edited and watch every single take. I did it on purpose. I don't think it was like required. I just did it. And it was the most, it was so chilling. But I did get to know my tricks and like the tricks that I was trying that don't work, like those little idiosyncrasies, just kind of like worked them out of the system a bit. But it is exposure. It's like, I'm so think of, as you said that, my mother-in-law, who is Bev, who is definitely listening to this, and I love her, does, whenever a family picture, when everyone's like, let's take a picture, I have to show you, because we're looking at each other. The listening audience can't hear this, but she does every time. If you're like, Bev, let's take a picture, she goes like this. And like fully turtles her neck. Like her tortoise, her neck goes into her shell and double, triple chins. And her chin goes all the way back. And she has no idea. And we're like, don't do anything. Don't do anything with your neck. And she's like, I'm not. And it's just moving into. So we all do that stuff.
Yeah. And so many people don't have to think about it. They
don't have to
constantly. Like my best friend, when she got into law school, like deleted her social media and was like, I don't really need this anymore. Like I used it a lot in college and undergrad and like, had fun, but I don't need to do this. I'm tired of taking pictures. And she's just free.
Healthy.
Yeah, she takes pictures of her and that's it. It's crazy.
She's the only one who looks at them and her friends.
They're genuine memories.
What? I don't even know what that means.
Neither do I.
How dare. I'm so jealous. I'm going to go to law school. I want to go to law school. I'm not equipped. I'm not going to pass. Do you think that what I also love about After Midnight is that I feel like it's just such a, what a treat that it platforms comedians.
Yeah.
Like that must be a huge factor for you. You must be working with your friends, people you know, people you've gone out with.
Yeah. We shot with Kelsey Cook, Brian Simpson, and Blair Saki, and those are people I've known for years. And Brian and I started together in San Diego, and Kelsey and I used to do a podcast together for years. And I was looking forward to that show for weeks. And there are so many shows like that, especially now that we're getting some repeat guests on,
right?
Where you have, some established chemistry with them, and between the 3 panelists, it is, and now people can go watch the show and sort of know what to expect and know that it's weird and goofy and silly. So they have some context before going in. I mean, it's so fun, and it's so rare that stand-ups get a chance to improvise and play around with each other.
Yeah.
I mean, I've laughed so hard on this show, like harder than I have in years on this show at some of the bits that these people have done. And it really is like such a gift. And it is another reason I was so excited to do it, is when you're on tour on your own, sort of your own planet, like you just don't see other comedians very much.
Right.
And so it's a joy. It really is.
I felt like when At Midnight went away, it was a loss. It was a loss to the comedy community. It really was. It really was. So it's like, it's awesome to bring it back. And it feels like it was refreshed and is right for right now. Don't you feel?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, TikTok wasn't a thing back then.
Yeah.
So much of our show is videos from TikTok. I think the old show was pretty Twitter heavy, and there just weren't the same social media platforms that were, popular. I mean, Vine is gone now, and it's twice as long. Like, we're doing an hour-long show as opposed to half an hour. And obviously, we probably have more restrictions, I would guess, around like language, etc., because it's CBS as opposed to Comedy Central.
Oh, yeah.
But I've been surprised at what they let us get away with, honestly.
That's nice. Do you have a crazy S&P notes? Our S&P notes were so crazy at Full Frontal. They were like, no. They were like, the moment where you show the elephant's vagina giving birth, we can't show the baby elephant crowning. That violates our standards and practices. It's the one I always think of.
That's planet Earth.
That's Earth. That's joy. That's nature.
That's a miracle of life.
I know. We're just watching miracles happen. And you're denying people?
Yeah, I can't think of any notes that we got that I was like, really? But I know that there were times that I was surprised. I think we kept in, we probably bleeped it. Maybe we didn't. I know at one point there was a panel where they essentially started chanting the word taint. And I thought, well, that's never going to get in. And then it did.
It did.
It did.
Way to go, CBS. You did it.
I know. Who knew?
Taints all the way down. I love it. Taylor, I have enjoyed our conversation so thoroughly. And I thank you for saying yes. And thank you for like your work. And I feel like it's like so exciting to watch you just ascend.
My gosh. This was
awesome.
So lovely. I truly was looking forward to it so much. I was thrilled.
Me too.
Yes.
Well, that was Taylor Tomlinson. And I had no choice but to look up one thing. Taylor talked about the choice to initially pitch a stand-up special to Netflix, which got me thinking, what was the very first Netflix comedy special? Well, it was Aziz Ansari's 2013 Buried Alive. Netflix was just 6 years old. Thank you for joining us. I'm Samantha Bee. See you next week for some more choice words. Thank you for listening to Choice Words, which was created by and is hosted by me. The show is produced by Svea Reinstein with editing and additional producing by Josh Richmond. We are distributed by Lemonada Media, and you can find me at RealSamB on Instagram and X. Follow Choice Words wherever you get your podcasts or listen ad-free on Amazon Music with your Prime membership.